there's this creator named Dead Domain, who I think is a trans gal, but realistically we'll figure out their pronouns as we go. And we got Stephen Bonnell II, one of the largest liberal debate bros, who has a fraught personal history. I've criticized him. I consider myself a friend of his, but I've criticized him for the way that he conducts his personal life. The entire internet has criticized him for the way that he conducts his personal life. But the reason why this is relevant to politics and relevant to online politics is because there is a civil war on the left that was already lost on the right. So to articulate this relatively briefly, because my chat has already seen me do this before, on the right wing, we allowed Trump to win. In 2016, for whatever reason, we just did. And then a slavish cult developed around this man. And now we have Donald Trump in Davos, Switzerland, arguing that we should be allowed to invade and tariff our neighbors in order to take Greenland. It's actually like totally psychotic BS. And if I time traveled to 1998 to talk to my Republican parents about what the future of the Republican Party would look like, they would probably just kill themselves. Okay. So that's what happened on the right, is the sane right wing, the sane Republicans fought a civil war against MAGA and Donald Trump, and they lost. And now we have an incoherent, incompatible, totally psychotic, no virtues, no vices, no consistency political party. And it sucks. Okay. It sucks. But on the left right now, because the MAGA wing is so dominant and has dominated American politics for the past decade and the narrative surrounding politics for the past decade, they're trying to figure out how to build a coalition in order to effectively fight the right wing. But what happens is that liberals, people who emphasize freedom but also still like capitalism, and progressives, who are effectively social justice warriors, people who care about your gays, your transes, your blacks, your Hispanics, your sexual minorities, your pansexuals, your demisexuals, your asexuals, your hot sexuals, those people. And then the leftists, the communists and the socialists and the social democrats, they're all fighting over who gets control of the left. And they spend more time fighting each other over who gets control of the narrative in the left and the public policy positions of their leaders. They fight about that more than they actually cohere around a coalition to win electoral fights. And so this hit piece is probably a microcosm of lefties, progressives, leftists. I would presume this person is probably a leftist based off of their identity. Now, that might be stereotypical and rude, but it is what it is. And so leftists have a very loud, annoying voice online. So they have a disproportionate impact on left-wing discourse. Therefore, liberals have to constantly beat them back into their box. And this is an attempt by a lefty to take a liberal down a peg. So let's take it from there.
Yeah, I feel like this person is so autistic, so can't interpret anything that I'm saying, that this is like the best hit piece that's ever been made against me. Because this is like the most insane, like 4-word cut from a whole conversation where I'm talking about responsible platforming, where I
seemingly entirely out of spite. For example,
entirely out of spite. Whoa.
Listen, can I just say that Destiny does a lot of things out of spite, but he also does a lot of things because he enjoys it. Have you ever thought that he enjoyed the spite? Did you ever think that saying that he does things out of spite probably doesn't change what he's going to do next?
And that is where his reaction was based. Perceived threats to livelihood are serious, and Destiny has a history of taking them violently serious, like the somewhat well-known early example of doxing a troll who continued to DDoS Steven's streams, and at one point Steven even said this.
Ripped his IP from Skype and gave it to a... Yeah. Why do people like his son so much? I don't know. Maybe because he's a fucking Chad meme come to life and can meet the chuds on the ground they claim is theirs. You wouldn't want to fight him. He's intimidating. That makes him look... Or that makes...
Just saying this now. I know I'm pause Andying. I would happily fistfight Hassan Piker. Happily. He's 6'3", 200 and some odd pounds. I'm 6'4", 236 pounds as of this morning. I would just need to do cardio for 6 months, and I would need to lift weights. I would happily fistfight Hassan Piker. And even if I lost, I wouldn't care. I just want to punch him in vital organs for a little bit.
I'm a great conduit for inspiring others. Based. Okay. I just realized I had mouse acceleration on for months. Whoa, not good. Mouse. Settings. If you have a good mouse, always make sure that pointer precision is turned off. Always turn that off. Sociopath, predator, troll. Why Destiny is alone, and it's all his fault. How am I alone? What does that mean?
He knows what it means.
I have my chat with me right now. I have thousands of loyal Dalabanians.
Hold on. I'm gluing something.
It's a long time.
Hold on. I was glooping something. So gloop, for those of you who don't know, is not a sex term. It's a cosplay term. So for 3D printing, I promise I'll make this brief. For 3D printing, you cannot always 3D print the entire object, right? You have to gloop it. So you print it in sections, and then you use a kind of cement that is like super glue, but it also melts the plastic a little bit. So it has the consistency of the original object because it melts the PLA together. The PLA is the type of material that you use for 3D printing. And then it basically sticks together like cement. Okay. So anyway, so I'm glooping right now, and that is not a sex term. So in reference to Stephen being alone, he knows what they're saying. Okay. He knows what they're saying. And I'll articulate it because I'm going to try to steel man as much as I can in reference to this conversation. Okay. What this person is saying is that Stephen, because I've said this in a DM to Stephen, so I don't think he'll care that I'm saying it out loud. Sometimes he's difficult to get away with, or get away with. He's difficult to get along with. And what I mean by that is he conducts his personal affairs in such an aggressive and criticizable way that it's difficult as a person of good conscience to always go along with whatever he's saying or doing. Okay? Gloop it slower. I hate you. And so just as an example, we talked to J-Stock and Queeman recently. Well, we actually didn't talk to Queeman. We talked to J-Stock. And J-Stock, for those of you who don't know, he had a civil war against Destiny. He used to be an orbiter. Now he hates its guts. He used to A-log the shit out of Destiny, covering his alleged downfall, covering how he's going to destroy himself, covering how he's going to end up in prison, covering how he's going to go down in a civil lawsuit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so J-Stock stopped covering Destiny, weirdly enough. And so I went back and I was like, hey, man, some hot stuff is dropping in reference to the civil case. It seems like you're not covering it because you're taking some L's, right? Compared to your position a year ago where Stephen was bankrupt and going to go and get incarcerated and he's going to die and XYZ ABC, seems like you're walking back some of your position. And he's like, those weren't my positions. Those were other people's positions. But also the reason why I'm not covering it is because the juice is no longer worth the squeeze. Okay. Engaging in a information war with Destiny is no longer worth it. So I'm no longer participating. Which I was like, well, that's kind of fucked up because I thought Destiny was conducting himself relatively immorally within that information war. And I've criticized Stephen to his face about that. Well, just as an example of how Stephen is difficult to get along with, by all accounts, he won. Okay? He won. Okay? Destiny won the docs war. He won the information war with J-Stock. He fucking won. And he's being a sore loser. I would say this to Stephen. I would say this to his face. I would say this in DMs. Last week, Stephen posted J-Stock's full name on Twitter and also posted J-Stock's dad's obituary. And I think J-Stock's dad died in the past year or two. There's no need for that. What are we doing here? Why are we doxing somebody who already surrendered? And why are we making fun of them for having a dead dad? You know what I'm saying? Like, sore losers are obviously annoying. Sore winners are also annoying. Okay? So don't be a sore winner. And I would say that. I would say that that was totally unnecessary. So, Stephen, if somebody clips this, I think doxing J-Stock on Twitter last week after you already won the dox war and then shitposting about his dead dad, a little bit too far, right? Cool. Moving on. Fuck you, Ranger Nation.
Law of the American left as nebulous a phrase as there's ever been that we can't really seem to get along or agree much on anything. Who's it?
I think he's watching at 1.25, so I'm going to back off to 1. Destiny talks fast, and it looks like he's on 1.1 or 1.25.
Tanky, who's a liberal, who's a sock damn plant for the DSA, or who's doing good praxis or whatever. Yet, as the right wing continues to create coalition after coalition of divergent yet similarly aligned ideologies, conglomerating everyone from incels to backwoods boogaloos to college Republicans, libertarians, neckbeard metrosexuals, and more, like the most unfuckable Katamari of all time. The left of America has had...
Was that Katamari or calamari? Wrong answers in chat only.
A really hard time putting aside what are ultimately, in the face of concentrated power of an authoritarian movement that has wormed its way into every aspect of American life, very small differences. And a lot of that comes down to personal taste. Some people don't like streamer A because he's icky or interviewed some people they don't like. Some don't like YouTuber B because she said something they took.
That feels like a sweep for Hassan Piker, by the way. You know, they're criticizing streamer A because they interviewed somebody that you don't like. No. I'm going to hate Hassan Piker. I will continue to hate Hassan Piker from my neoconservative tower. I think he's a piece of shit. I think he does apologia for the CCP. I think he does apologia for the cultural genocide of the Uyghurs in Western China. I think he does apologia for authoritarian communism during the 20th century. I think he does apologia for jihadist terrorism in the modern world. I think he's an idiot. I think he's a midwit. I think he's a dumbass. I think he's a piece of shit. I think he makes the left wing worse, and I'm never going to get off of that high horse. So for all the liberals and progressives who are like, no, Hassan's not that bad. No, he is that bad. Go fuck yourself.
In bad faith, and therefore cut all ties with her. Some people don't like this politician because he tweeted something years ago, etc. There's a lot I could say here about the parasociality of relationships with political figures, and because most concentrated power is interested in maintaining the current social hierarchies, most actual leftist content creators who advocate for...
Just as a quick thing, I hate this word parasocial, and I hate that the word parasocial ever became a thing. It is common for people to somewhat identify with the people that they like, whether you're talking political content creators, politicians, actors, musicians. Like, you follow people, you follow their journey, and you identify to some extent with those people because you've got things in common. There's nothing parasocial or wrong or weird about if a person you're following doesn't.
It is parasocial. It's just that parasocial relationships are inherently common. So I actually disagree with Steven here. I'm just not going to freak out about it.
The bad thing and you feel bad, that's normal. Or if a person you're following gets married or has a baby and you feel glad, that's a normal thing. There's a term, it's an old like psych literature term. Nowadays we use terms like parasocial, you know, obsessive, whatever this, but there used to be a word for this. It was called empathy. Empathy is when we feel things that other people feel. It's not abnormal or strange or pathological at all. It's pretty fucking normal, okay? Jesus.
Leftist economic and social policy are disorganized, left to scattered...
Also, hold on, this is driving me crazy now. Wait. What do you think I can low pass or low cut without it fucking my voice up? Testing 1 2, testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Nope, that's way too high. 100.
Oh my God, Steven.
Fund money from a conservative philanthropist, and the Daily Wire was started with seed money from oil billionaires. All of this is to say that leftist infighting, while a time-honored tradition, is stupid. With little institutional power to achieve our goals, every effort to achieve anything that might prevent some suffering is seemingly undercut just as much from our own side as it is any conservative effort. Meanwhile, as the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk has shown, the comfortable liberal and intelligentsia classes would rather close ranks with conservatives that actively target them because when it...
There's AI programs now that can like make it look like your eyes are looking at the camera, but like you could at least get a iPad or something or some kind of prompter above your camera. If you're doing a YouTube video, I don't know why you would make it so obvious that you're reading a script.
You know why, Steven? I'm so angry. Do you know why? This is so annoying to me. Okay. As somebody who does pre-recorded content, this is mad annoying. Hi. Matter of fact, I'm gonna stare into your eyeballs. Where's Jen Winkler? Jen Winkler, where are you? Look at your camera right now. Okay. The reason why is because I don't have $2,000, okay? I have a limited budget. And so as a result, I got the 3 monitor stand and the 3 monitors that my chat helped me buy. I have my Bob Ross wig, but I bought a $30, $40 camera stand that puts it at a weird angle between my 3 monitors. So sometimes when I'm reading a script, oh, and by the way, I can't fit my teleprompter in front of my camera now. So in order to fix this, what I need to do is I need to get a stand that hooks into the wall so I can move the camera past all the bullshit here, so I can put the camera right here so I can read my fucking script, and then you can't really tell that I'm reading my script. And or I need to get a new teleprompter, which is probably $300 to $500 in order to put in front of my equipment. I'm sorry, but Some of us, smaller creators, even though I have a lot of Oilers and I parasocially love you, et cetera, some of us smaller creators, we want to put out content and we don't want the perfect to get in the way of the great. We don't want the great to get in the way of the good, and we don't want the good to get in the way of the done. So this criticism of this 150K YouTuber, which maybe they could afford a better camera setup or whatever, the question is whether or not the quality of the information that they're delivering is better. Yes, you can always work on aesthetics. Yes, you can always improve things. And yes, we should do so. But this criticism is vapid and stupid. And as somebody who still has to maintain a budget, sometimes I just don't have endless money to improve production quality of my production. Okay? All right, on the same page?
Like it's a YouTube video, just memorize it line by line and then, you know, cut or whatever. I don't know.
It comes down to it, they have class consciousness, even at the expense of their own safety. Leopards eating people's faces and so on and so forth. Barry Weiss's recent turn from being a reasonable lib to a useful cog in state-run media is a perfect example of this. But for all our infighting, there are a few things we probably should agree on. For any smaller battles and quibbles we are willing to set aside, we must be vigilant in defending the communities we seek to help, and so we cannot accept any predators, abusers, or people who are so self-interested they really only seem to care about themselves to the exclusion and...
Hold on. This might be the crux of the essay, so I need to hear this.
Useful cog in state-run media is a perfect example of this. But for all our infighting, there are a few things we probably should agree on. For any smaller battles and quibbles we are willing to set aside, we must be vigilant in defending the communities we seek to help, and so we cannot accept any predators, abusers, or people who are so self-interested they really only seem to care about themselves to...
In order to protect the communities that we are attempting to defend, we cannot accept any predators or abusers or...
the exclusion and detriment of others.
Or people who participate in politics to the exclusion and detriment of others. No. This is why leftism fails. You're trying to build a coalition of such a broad swath of interests that you can't be practical. Okay, no, let me articulate this. So if there was a Nazi, all right, let's say that there was a national Bolshevik, because there are national Bolsheviks who are extreme left-wingers, okay? And Caleb Maupin is like the perfect example of this, okay? Caleb Maupin is a tanky apologist. He's a national Bolshevik, something like that. He's a piece of shit. I actually not a huge fan of Caleb Maupin. He had a weird sex drama that kind of drove him away from the online space. But for those of you who remember Caleb Maupin, hilarious character. So anyways, Caleb Maupin is a national Bolshevik. He's an authoritarian tanky or whatever. Now, for me, I would say you can't sit with us. You're not part of the team, right? Because our politics are so divergent that if you ever achieve what you want to achieve, then my world collapses, right? So you're not on the team. However, if Caleb Maupin wanted to like go rescue puppies in order to fundraise, number one, for puppies, but number two, to fundraise for like a tepid normie Democrat, then I'll go work with somebody who's a piece of shit as long as it furthers the goal of actual electoral politics and my team winning in the electoral arena. And so this constant like purity testing over like personality or personal virtue or personal vice or whatever, it's like, yeah, to a degree. Do you want to work with a pedophile? Probably not, because the pedophile's optics, whatever gain you get from doing a fundraiser with a pedophile, you're probably going to lose in people not wanting to participate with you. And so there's like a degree where optics do matter, but then caring about whether or not the aforementioned pedophile checks a box on a voting form in order to vote for your team, you should not give a fuck. It should be like money. You know what I'm saying? Like, I joke about like the Mossad or Ukraine or drug cartels like giving me cash through super chats. As a matter of fact, that's what Grassroots Hegemon does. He's actually like a drug cartel leader. So I'm laundering his money. But the whole point is that like, yeah, money can be used for good. Therefore, if you get money from a source that's kind of questionable, but maybe not so questionable that it hurts your other objectives, take it. That's the way that you should view voting as well. If a vote is coming from a bad place, take it.
The title of the video, let's talk about Destiny.
That's me, the spectacle.
Stephen Bennell II, commonly known by his online monikers, the Omni-Liberal and Destiny, is a sex pest, socially inept loser, deadbeat father, and all-around pedantic dipshit. Okay, I got that out of my system, and I'm just joking. If you're...
You can say many things about Stephen. I actually don't think he's a pedant.
a Destiny fan and you're already triggered, well then you're probably just a lot like him in that, like Destiny, you probably have no problem lobbing similar insults at people, denigrating others based on perceived feelings, yet once that same standard is turned on him, suddenly it's a low blow. You might even designate the things I just said as straw men or...
All right, start off strong. I get very, very, very mad when people call me bad words, by the way.
some other pedantic debate tactic. If you couldn't tell...
I don't know how... Oh, man. Oh, okay, yeah. I'm glad I'm only doing 30 minutes of this. None of that was pedantic. These would just be tactics that you would agree or disagree with. I don't know what is pedantic about saying you don't want somebody to insult you. I don't understand. And also...
blow. You might even designate the things I just said as straw men.
I don't know how any of those things could be...
Yeah, this is where, once again, I don't think that you understand this. I don't think this gal understands what straw men are, okay? Straw man is where you weakly represent your opponent's arguments. That way it's easy to knock down. That's a straw man. Pedantry is being overly obsessed with words to the point that you're actually not looking at the broader meaning of the conversation or even the purpose of the conversation. I've accused Pisco of pedantry because while he's an incredibly intelligent person, sometimes when he finds a sentence that he thinks is out of whack with his worldview, he will myopically focus on the sentence that he thinks is out of his worldview until that line of argumentation is resolved, even if that sentence is not a part of the broader point of the argument. And so I think Destiny can be pedantic while arguing sometimes in order to show that there's like a weakness in the argumentation, but it's often not about the words. And oftentimes if somebody points out that Stephen is being pedantic in a scenario, he will shift the argumentation to find the thrust of the argumentation as aggressively as possible so you can move into the meat of the topic. And so actually, maybe I'm autistic. I have no idea. The gloop's getting to me. I might be high off of gloop right now, but I actually do find Pisco to be pedantic sometimes. And I do not find Stephen to be pedantic, because if you say, hold up, let's back out, let's zoom out, let's look at the broader thrust of the arguments, let's focus on the broader thrust of the arguments, typically he'll follow you down that path.
Comment either, but okay, let's go.
Or some other pedantic debate tactic. If you couldn't tell, yeah, we're going to be using the word pedantic a lot to describe Stephen. Somehow, this picture you'd see if you looked up the definition of the word man-child has managed to become something of a mainstream touchstone for representing the online left. In the last few months, for example, he was featured on CNN for a piece on how the left is meeting right-wing mainstream.
I mean, it really depends on who you're talking about, because like leftists fucking hate me, but okay.
Lords on their own turf.
Somehow I feel like on the left, I don't know how this happened online, maybe it's because we tend to be younger or whatever, but somehow the party's messaging apparatus, it feels like it's kind of hijacked from by people who won't vote for your candidates.
One that is often characterized by un-PC language, insults, and crude humor. Like this tweet Destiny sent poking conservatives by saying...
You know God isn't real because if he was, it wouldn't have been the 100+ kids camping he sniped over the holiday weekend. Oh no! I have a new theory about the Charlie Kirk shooting. Am I high on gloop? I think I'm high on gloop. Whoa! This was before Charlie Kirk got shot, right? This was before Charlie Kirk got shot. It had to have been, right? Oh my God. Okay. Hold on. I could be high on gloop, but let me articulate what I'm thinking, okay? If I am not being charitable to this thing, okay? Destiny saying, you know God isn't real because if he would, he wouldn't have sniped the 100 kids, or it wouldn't have been the 100+ kids camping he sniped over the holiday weekend, okay? What that sounds like to me is like either Donald Trump and or Charlie Kirk should be sniped if God was real and there was any justice in the world, right? And then Charlie Kirk gets shot like a year later. I'm starting to think it was Destiny. Has anybody checked the Discord logs for the shooter? Is he in DGG? We should check.
Kids who died in the Texas floods were proof that God doesn't exist.
Do you regret sending those tweets? I think I have to get over it. I don't regret them. I love poking the bear on the right.
That's not even the worst tweet.
Yes, mainstream media always right on time. 10 years too late. There's also this video recently. Like,
Okay.
Come on, guys.
And I saw so much involvement from different gaming people, and I thought the conversations were so horrible. I was like, oh, I could improve this, and I can join this, and make this part of my content. Generally, the phrase "don't make this political" is actually, people don't realize it. I'm not accusing people of being bad faith, but that's coded language for I want to maintain the status quo. Yeah. So generally, if the environment is a certain lane, so maybe we should change this aspect of the environment. People say, well, let's not get political here, and what that means is I like the current environment. Let's not change it.
Shout out to this Wired article from 2020.
Which is a conservative instinct. And sorry, I just wanted to make this point. Why am I saying sorry? It's my fucking show. I'm just high on gloop. So, what I want to say about that is there are things that I don't want to change. Okay? During the 90s and the thousands, we had a racial understanding of we're all Americans and we're all on the same team and we should fight with each other on shared goals. Okay? I think that racial consensus, while Black people and Asians and Indians might feel left out of the racial consensus because of rude jokes in high school and middle school and maybe even college, I still think that racial consensus should survive the progressive SJW wave of the 2010s and 2020s. Same thing with like video games with boobs. I think that there's an element. I think that like Japanese people or whatever, they take gooning too far. So for instance, there was that like video game that came out in the past few years that was effectively just like a nude jiggle physics model running through like an action video game. Like from a First Amendment basis, do I think that should be allowed? Absolutely. Do I think that should be a popular video game with young men? No, it's too goonery, right? So I think there's like a balance of gooning, right? Like the Tomb Raider series, the classic ones, probably a little bit too goony. But the new, if there was like classic Tomb Raider where she had like double Ds, right? And then there was like the newer Tomb Raider where it was like a female-centered action video game that was actually just qualitatively good. And if we could split the gooning between those two, I actually think that would be perfect. Can I show you guys this real quick? At the risk of gooning too much into the sun, can I show you the classic Tomb Raider? So original Tomb Raider. Nobody remembers Leisure Suit Larry. I remembered Leisure Suit. Dude, I'm high off of gloop. I remember Leisure Suit Larry, and I brought him up because he had ads in the PC Gamer magazine, and I was like, what is this gooning bullshit, right? So anyways, so this is classic Tomb Raider, right? Skin tight outfit, skin tight shorts, skin tight shirt. Proportions are a little bit exaggerated and double Ds, right? So probably like a little bit too goony in my opinion. All right. Whereas I would say new Tomb Raider video games. Okay. So with the new Tomb Raider, this one's okay. I'm actually okay with that one. Legacy of Atlantis, that artwork looks okay. There was actually, you know what? I think this is perfect. I think this is perfect. I think they hit the perfect balance between sex appeal and action orientation. I actually think this is perfect. I think the new one's great. There we go.
Would they disagree with me? That was a very progressive left-leaning take. What was the point of that? What?
Which serves as a fairly complete and often revealing profile of Stephen's various neuroses. I highly recommend you go and read the article in its entirety because it's only grown better and more relevant with time, as the several quotes I've pulled throughout the video will attest. Quote, Bunnell first waded into the online political discourse a few years ago, driven by a kind of intellectual fury. As he sees it, many of the web's most influential gurus and luminaries are bewilderingly incapable of critical thought, end quote. Yes, Destiny is primarily known for his debate skills, which I will get to at some point, but before that, I need to go back. Way back, because like every other deep dive I've done on an internet personality in the past, with Destiny joining the unenviable ranks of people like Matt Walsh and Brianna Wu, when you go back to the very beginning, you can much better piece together who
I kind of want to watch the Brianna Wu hit piece. I think that would be funny.
this person has always been.
Oh, God. The psychoanalysis. It's always the psychoanalysis. I think that excessive pathologizing is a pathology. There has to be some name for this.
No. Destiny's wrong. He's fucked up. He's had a fucked up childhood, fucked up teenagerhood, fucked up 20s. It's the reason why he is the way that he is. Okay?
That where like Kiwi Farms does it, Hassan's community does it, Ethan from H3H3, I think these guys do it, Justicle's community. Like, you can never grapple ever with the things that a person says. You have to invent some grand conspiratorial way to wire it all together, or like to make it some kind of like illness or disease. Like, why not just like the only reason why, in my mind, you would ever have to try to like piece things together is if there's like a unexplainable or inexplicable massive change of opinion or something that's like difficult to account for. Otherwise, I don't know what, like, a good example of this would be for like Tim Pool. How is it that 10 years ago, Tim Pool seemed to know the ins and outs of everything happening on the ground with Euromaidan in Ukraine, but now he labels it as something completely different. And we know that he got $5 million of Russian money, right? So you have like a dramatic shift in opinion. You've got, I mean, a literal conspiracy to funnel money to his channel via Russia. Like this is like a thing that I think this is like you have like all the pieces here to make this argument. What nobody's ever demonstrated to me, because I got all these weird accusations of being a grifter or a debate lord or a debate pedophile or like disingenuous or
He is a debate lord. He's just not disingenuous.
or I don't believe like what is a thing I've said where it's like, well, you're so contradictory here. How can you believe this but then also believe this, or say like, why not just like take me at my word for things? I don't know. Okay.
And for Stephen,
Okay. I don't think that anybody has made that argumentation. I think the argumentation, now, like even in this like drama hit piece, can you guys hear me okay? I'm talking through the mask because I'm actually getting high off of gloop. So anyways, the point is, I don't think most people actually criticize Stephen for like being hypocritical, right? I think what they criticize him for is that he had a fucked up childhood. He had a fucked up childhood. He was born in darkness. No, is somebody sick? No, I'm using glue. I'm using glue. And the glue is getting me high, and I don't want to be high. I just want to super glue the thing that I'm super gluing together without getting high. All right. So anyways, the point is that like I don't think anybody's really accused him of inconsistency. I think they said that his childhood made him a sociopath. Okay. Yeah, I'm like soy Bane right now. Yes. All right. Give me a second. Give me a second. Oh. I'll turn on the fan. Hi. Cool. Thank you. All right. Anyways.
he's always kind of been a immature, self-serving edgelord.
I mean, you literally told him to end his life over Twitter, didn't you?
I might have. I tell a lot of people to kill themselves, but I mean, like,
Wow.
I will be entirely honest. After reading countless forum posts, watching exposés, and countless hours of Stephen's own live streams, I will admit this deep dive has been much harder to do than ones I've done previously, at least as far as remaining empathetic to the primary subject. Usually, even with people I find personally reprehensible, like Matt Walsh or Brianna Wu, I still try to understand them through an empathetic lens to get at what makes them tick as people and relate that to my own experiences, even if I don't agree with their opinions, their manipulative tactics, or their method. Destiny, however, defies this principle. At every turn, he has remained a unsympathetic and detached egotist. And the more I've learned, the more I have a hard time empathizing with him because, as I'll show, there's so little to empathize with on a personal, human level.
good. I don't like it when people sympathize at me or are having some weird engagement. Just engage with the things that I'm saying. I don't try to be a sympathetic figure. I think if you dramatically disagree with me on a lot of different issues, I think you would find me pretty fucking insufferable. But that's kind of part of my brand, right? Like, I mean, that's just the personality I have. I'm okay with that.
I think his detachment and
Although it's very strange to say that you can find ways to humanize or understand Matt Walsh, but you can't do the same for me. That's kind of strange, but okay.
has served him professionally to expand his base and profile, but now it has led to a series of controversies that he just can't ignore anymore. This is a deeply unwell, manipulative, cold, and self-interested person. That is an assessment, by the way, entirely free of whether or not I agree with any of his politics.
Okay. All right. Let's go.
Because as we will speak about at length, much of his political outlook seems to come from a place of convenience and confrontation rather than genuine conviction. Like, say what you want about Matt Walsh, but I at least believe that he believes the bullshit he says. The same can't be said, in my opinion, for Stephen.
Okay. God, I hope we get into some of these beliefs. I would just love for some.
Yeah, so I think this is bullshit. I might take a break from the super glue in order to break this down, but there is nothing incompatible about being a debate lord in the name of liberalism and being a nihilist hedonist. As the conversation with Ryan Getty and I articulated, is that classical liberalism kind of had this like moral content where if you looked at the liberals who were advocating for liberalism, they still said that you needed like a moral core. You still needed a philosophy that guided the culture into a pro-social, virtuous way of existing. And yet, neoliberalism from probably the 1970s onward, I think that if we talk to Ryan Getty, what he effectively said is like, within the past like 4 or 50 years, I'm like soy Darth Vader. No, this is funny. Fuck you. Hold on, we got a couple of super chats. You guys are distracting me, but I think it's funny. Old School says, is Connor cooking something illicit for $2? Thank you. No, I'm super gluing something, and the super glue has toxic fumes. From the Ashes says, please, Connor, take off the mask. The soy voice hurts me. No. I'm not gonna physically hurt myself just because it's entertaining to you. Okay. Anyways, so I was actually getting high off of the glue earlier. Okay. But the point is that Ryan Getty was saying that since the 70s, neoliberalism in particular has become a governmental and economic system without moral content. And so as a result, liberals have largely abdicated moral and cultural criticism in reference to saying, well, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else, who cares? Okay. And so the truth is that Vincent Neal says, damn, I lost my wrench. Well, you get it back, Vid. You haven't done anything crazy. Just don't ban Doobie if he's dropping cash in the just don't ban Doobie. Just don't ban Doobie if he's dropping cash. Anyways, the point is that, like, I would like to see a return to liberalism that has moral content and cultural criticism and emphasizes virtue over vice. Whereas I think for Stephen, neoliberalism since the 1970s is a playground for him. He gets to do whatever he wants, because as long as he's not hurting anyone in a criminal way, as long as he's not hurting anybody in a way that's civilly liable, he can technically do whatever he wants. So why wouldn't he be a liberal? Why wouldn't he be a neoliberal? It's a system that benefits him. So that's where I would like to see the alleged political hypocrisy exposed.
Needs to be pointed out, because when Matt Walsh, after doing a whole documentary on trans people, was brought into Joe Rogan, and when asked how many
Hold on. No, Evan, you're wrong. Okay, you're wrong. Evan says, oh God, I'll say it again. Liberalism does not in any way assign morality to anything. It's just a framework. You get your morals from other things in your life, religion, sports, family, services. That's a newer idea, Evan. That's what Ryan Getty and I talked about. Ryan Getty, for all the people in chat who are like, Connor never does anything substantive. I had a very substantive conversation with Ryan Getty, who's an excellent creator, and he seems to actually read primary sources. Go check that conversation out. Go check out Ryan Getty's conversation. Liberalism was not amoral 100 or 200 years ago.
kids were getting trans surgeries. Was it trans surgeries or hormone therapy? His guess was like millions. He said millions. Or did he say 3 million? And the actual number was like, it was like 1,000 or something.
Melody misspoke. Kill yourself. I'm kidding. Don't. Melody says, Connor, do the Bane voice. You nearly adopted the darkness. No, it's merely. M-E-R-E-L-Y. You misspoke. Laugh my ass off. Anyways, you merely adopted the darkness. I was born in it, shaped by it. As a matter of fact, can I do like the full Bane speech real quick? Let's do the full Bane speech. You merely adopted the darkness speech. I'll try to do it. You think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then, it was nothing to me but blinding. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but I think I did a decent performance. Anyways.
Over 5 years or something like that. He's off by several orders of magnitude. It was like, what?
So, fairly recently, for example, what kind of liberal would attempt to dox someone and publicly report their spouse to ICE all because they were being sued for being a sex pest? Destiny is that kind of liberal.
All right, sorry. I'm getting super chats for quotes now. Connor say, I'm CIA, or it would be extremely painful. You're a big guy. For you. Yeah. It would be extremely painful.
You're a big guy.
for you.
We're cutting through a lot of material there. We're working our way through a lot of material there to get that point at the end, but okay, I see we did our homework on that. Okay.
But like those previous deep dives, this isn't going to be a hit piece solely attacking somebody I don't like, but I aim for it to function more as a guide to who he is through his content.
Okay.
And hopefully that will answer the question of, as we try to find a way forward and build coalitions, what is the line for who we reject solidarity with? And that line is Stephen, a abusive, narcissistic weirdo who will always try and make a bigger issue about himself.
How? I feel like they've done this thing where they've like summarized me like 6 times with just like a string of like insults, but okay, based.
Most recently, at time of writing, that took the form of him trying to do the whole Charlie Kirk debate me thing. Why? For what? For why? Probably
Yes, because nobody debated until Charlie Kirk was here.
the same reason he immediately went on TV as a talking head and started saying the dumbest shit imaginable as right-wingers were looking for anything they could to justify cracking down on the free speech of the left in the wake of Charlie Kirk's killing.
In response to Alina Hadder's tweet ordering people to fly their flags for half-mast in memory of Charlie, you posted on X buying flags and poles.
Yeah.
Of Charlie Kirk's killing.
In response to Alina Hadder's tweet ordering people to fly their flags for half-mast in memory of Charlie, you posted on X buying flags and poles just to fly them fully erect. And you then posted yesterday ending every conservative debate call out I do in 2026 with don't dodge bro. That's not what Charlie would have wanted. I mean, do you think that your response to the cold-blooded murder
Do I need to allow clipping? Maybe. Can I just say though, if Stephen gets murdered, I'm not going to be surprised. I'm just saying it. Like, I'm not trying to put it out there. I'm not trying to emphasize anything. I'm not trying to do X, Y, Z, A, B, C. I don't even care. I'm just being descriptive. I'm just saying those things are so spicy. Those tweets are so spicy that I would not be surprised if he got murdered. Dana Calico Cloud says, holy geez, what the heck are we watching? Lol. Okay. So let me get Dana Calico Cloud. She's probably actually a sane person, so we need to catch her up. I think I've already told Dana, Valor Media Network is actually like the virtuous, white pill, kind, post-recorded content. Hi, Dana. Good to see you. Once again, if you want like a nice restaurant experience, you need to click on Valor Media Network. You need to go to the video section, and you need to watch Dunk, Men Talking Mindfulness, any of those other shows, okay? We are the raucous bar in the back. So I'm going to do a little bit of a re-summary for Dana because Dana just came in and she's a nice gal and I don't want her to get freaked out. So Stephen, this guy down here and this guy down here is a liberal debate lord. Okay. That's what he does. He debates liberalism. He debates politics. He debates all sorts of topics. He gets spicy. He fights people on the internet. That's what he does for money. Okay. And he's done quite well. He probably has made 7 figures over the course of his career. He probably makes high 6 figures, maybe mid 6 figures until he got demonetized. He probably made mid to high 6 figures annually based off of this digital media career. And what's happening is there's a lot of left-wing people who do not like him because he is very verbally abrasive. His personal life can be criticized because he lives his personal life in an incredibly reckless way. And then they don't want to be sat with him. Okay. They don't want to be his friend. They don't want him to be a part of the coalition. So they're criticizing the way that he conducts himself, both personally, professionally, politically, etc., because they want to largely they want to socially and politically and any other way possible. They want to ostracize him to a maximal degree. So we're watching said person with a controversial personal life and controversial politics and controversial rhetoric reacting to a far left winger who wants to push him out of the movement for our entertainment. Also, what's happening is I am using a liquid cement called Gloop that is simultaneously super glue, but it also melts plastic. And so I got high off of the fumes maybe about 30 minutes ago. So I'm going to be wearing a mask while I continue to gloop things together. So Dana, you are sufficiently caught up. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them. Parasocial love to you and yours. Special shout out. We've already smashed 2 goals. We're already 3 out of 10 on another goal. Thank you to Real Serious Melody from the Ashes, Old School, Real Serious again. It's just Avi, Sacred Snow, aka Batu Sai, Travis Taze with the $100 oil. Thank you, King. Old School with the 10, Politics JK with the 5, AK Batu Sai with the 10, AK Batu Sai with the 20, Rob Go Slow with the 5, Vazraka with the membership, Turi Guyana with the membership, Jeb Kush with the membership, Old School with the membership, Deus Halcyon with the 5, and Anonymous Chatter with the $100 oil that kicked off today. I parasocially love you. Thank you. Doesn't glue kill brain cells? Yeah. I can feel my brain cells dying. I can feel my frontal lobe shrinking. yes, this glue is 100% killing my brain cells.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk has been appropriate.
Yes. I think that the only way this country moves forward into a better world is when conservatives can finally realize that they need to turn the temperature down on their side.
You have a huge audience of young men who listen to everything you have to say. So it doesn't matter. You have a huge audience. And because of that, you have a huge audience.
Or also probably why, in the middle of a public lawsuit, he is openly harassing people in.
I love that I love that this person is hand-wringing left-leaning talking points for the right, but I'm pretty sure what we saw, this person openly supports Hassan, who is like an anti-US pro, fucking Muslim imperialist pro, anything that is contrary to the US interest or whatever will quote unquote Fed post, but in the most, I guess like leftist friendly ways. Okay, good one. All right.
Involved in the lawsuit.
True. Anonymous chatter says, Connor could survive the depths of the glute pile with that mask. He could reach Bonnie Blue depths. I hope not, but I'll go ahead and like your $10 super chat. Thank you for the chip, King.
Recording it, and also probably why, in the middle of a public lawsuit, he is openly harassing people involved in the lawsuit, recording it and laughing.
And while I was out with my good Nazi friend, I'll say LS for an abbreviation to keep it anonymous.
Okay. I want to contextualize this, okay? Allegedly, okay? I'm contextualizing this for Dana, otherwise this is going to be totally nightmarish, okay? This gal, Lauren De Laguna, was another creator that was friends with Steven for the better part of a year. Once Steven got divorced, she wanted to date Steven. Steven did not want to date, although I think they've hooked up in the past. And so what ended up happening was a lawsuit was filed against Steven. I'm sure this video will go over it. But a lawsuit was filed against Steven, and Lauren De Laguna was a part of that lawsuit and was friendly with the plaintiff, okay? So she moved out of Miami. She moved to Austin, Texas. Steven went to Austin, Texas for content. Allegedly, he did not look for her, did not try to find her. There's just one really popular bar street in Austin, Texas. And as a result, they bumped into each other randomly, and she confronted him with a cell phone, effectively calling him a piece of garbage to his face. But we do not have any contrary evidence to the fact that Steven went out of his way to find this person. As a matter of fact, it seems like it's a total freakish coincidence, which is kind of crazy, if you ask me. Like, statistically, it's just crazy. Did he hook up with Lauren Southern? I don't know if he hooked up with Lauren Southern recently, but Lauren Southern, who is a dissident right-wing creator, was hanging out with him at this bar in Austin, Texas. So I haven't talked to Lauren in a really long time. And so I have no idea. I have no idea if they're still hooking up. I have no idea if they're just friends. I have no idea, bro. That's just the crazy world we live in. Crazy world we live in. Pray for me, I'm glooping. Pray for me, I'm glooping. I'm trying to get my glooped body armor together. There we go. Okay, sorry, this is just like really important because if I don't nail this stick, then it's going to ruin the cosplay. So let me try to focus on this for a second. Let me try not to kill myself, but also to get the super glue in the position that it needs to be in. Okay, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good. It's like off by a millimeter, but it's okay. I'll fuck with it. Oh, nope, that's not working. Damn. Boom. All right, anyways, I'll see if this gloop works. Let's continue the content.
Do you have anything you would like to say to the audience?
By the way, I think I've already said this. I don't know. I imagine at some point this will be public. She admitted in her deposition that she was FaceTiming Pixie when she ran across the street, so excited to see me because she's fucking obsessed with me. She was the one who ran us down in Austin, by the way. She does admit that in her deposition.
You're great. You're fucking weird.
Okay, cool.
That's why I need to be exposed.
Wait, really? Are we recording each other now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll see you around.
Why are you following me?
Because I'm bored. I gang stalk in real life.
You're fucking freak. You're a pedophile.
Yeah.
Since you deposed or subpoenaed her, you must have known that she lives in Texas. I don't think she ever got subpoenaed in Texas. I'm pretty sure she got subpoenaed in Florida.
You're freak. You're a pedophile.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
We're going to see that clip a few more times. All of this is because
Why? Wait, what the fuck does this? Wait, are they about to do the thing where they summarize me with like 3 more insulting words again? Hold on.
Yeah. True.
we're going to see that clip a few more times. All of this is because he wants attention, and he doesn't care who his grandstanding and short-sightedness affects as long as he gets that.
Yes, I wanted her to run up to me on the street and record me and to be on her phone. I wanted that. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know you lived here. And oh, yes.
The thing about being an internet streamer for so long is that there's a lot of time for you to talk about your own past, something that has led Stephen into hot water several times, which is to say that most of what we know about his past is from Stephen himself. He is his own favorite subject. He was raised conservative Catholic. In 2010, he dropped out of school and was later fired from a job, citing, quote, an inability to understand others' emotional experiences, which would lead to him starting to stream full-time on Twitch.
Is this from the Wired article? Parental attributes this to his own failure to navigate workplace politics. Everything is something that comes naturally to me. It's very hard for me to understand other people's emotional experiences. Was that in connection to the firing? I feel like usually when I talk about this, I usually say I just didn't understand the corporate politics stuff as much. The thing that I've said before, but I understand the corporate stuff better now. I didn't realize that you're marking yourself for deletion. I had the abbreviated version of this is that I was a grave shift supervisor. I didn't have the employees to do what we needed to do on shift. And for a day shift, a VP was walking by, complained about the state of my restaurant. My manager came to me and complained to me. And she said, hey, you need to make sure that this stuff is like bussed and cleaned or whatever. And I'm like I have no employees from 4 to 7, right? I'm doing everything in front of house and I'm cooking for back of house and you want like all this other shit done. You need to give me another employee. And I think that after this happened a second time or something, I emailed the VP of food and beverage and then I CC'd my manager saying like, this is the state of the restaurant. Like I need another employee. And I was just autistic. I didn't realize like I'm basically throwing my manager under the bus, which she should have been, by the way. Fuck that cunt. But that was after that point I started to get written up for random shit. And then eventually I got fired. I was like, oh.
I disavow that spicy language. We could communicate the same emotion without that spicy language. I disavow that. And unironically, I disavow it. Listen, I have been known to use spicy language. Okay. 100%. But I don't think it's necessary to communicate the same emotion.
Shit. But at the time, I didn't realize that I was fucking retarded. Well, I was a kid. I shouldn't say I was retarded. I was like 20 years old.
Focusing primarily on
But I don't know if this is like a difficult time navigating emotional experience. I just didn't understand the whole culture around, because Pam had told me, if you're not getting what you need to email and CC the upper person, because it was me having a conflict with a swing shift supervisor over fruit flies on the fucking soda machine or whatever. And so she wanted me to email her and then CC the swing supervisor, but I guess she didn't expect me to apply that logic to her emailing the VP and then CCing her. But yeah.
Craft 2. From the aforementioned Wired article, quote, forced to choose between a paycheck or an education, he dropped out of school in 2010. Within a year, he was fired from his job. Bunnell attributes this to his own failure to navigate workplace politics. Quote, empathy isn't something that comes naturally to me. It's very hard for me to understand other people's emotional experiences, end quote. This knowledge of empathy, or lack of it by Stephen, is a key part of who he is. And I don't want to speculate on whether he's neurodivergent or on the spectrum or how much that plays into his behavior, but at a certain point, neurodivergent or not, if you're aware of how much of a dick you're being in your behavior and you do nothing to curb that behavior, you are simply willfully choosing to be a dick, which will go on to be the defining aspect of his personality once he gets a platform, a dickish, holier-than-thou superiority that I suspect is also part of why his audience is drawn to him.
I am a dick. I've said that. Holier than thou? These people always project. It must be what they do. These people always project their own, I guess, like their assumptions that they're perfect or that their moral character is unimpeachable. I've never said this about myself ever. Never made these claims. But it, like,
correct. I think that's more of a vibes-based statement than a actual description of reality. I think the holier than thou, Stephen can be like kind of like self-righteous, or he can call other people morally repugnant or evil or terrible, or they deserve X, Y, Z, A, B, C, something like that. Whereas I do think that the self-righteous criticism could be levied my way more accurately. What I mean by this is that Stephen oftentimes describes himself as a jerk, as an a-hole, as a somebody who is like mean on purpose, as somebody who can be criticizable, like quite criticizable. Whereas I kind of tell you guys, it's like I fail, 100% I fail. I'll tell you about some of my failures in a few months. But basically, you know, like I try to live like as good of a life as I possibly can be. I try to be as good of a person as I possibly can be, but I have some abrasive and bad personality characteristics. And there's some of those that I have changed over time. There's some of those that I think are just aspects of my personality, and it's caused conflict. So the, how do I phrase this? I think Stephen knows that a lot of people would view his lifestyle and personal conduct and even some of his political perspectives as either criticizable or morally objectionable. Okay? I think he would acknowledge that readily. But I think that the crux of the criticism is the vibe that when he's yelling at people, he's oftentimes calling them evil or immoral or amoral or morally bankrupt. And so you kind of like presume a position of moral superiority.
Other people claim that I do. I don't know why. And then they attack the straw man, but.
And I want to return to that Wired article one last time for a particularly telling paragraph that is, in hindsight, so much more revealing than I think anyone knew it would become. Quote, eventually he quit his job and made streaming a full-time gig, earning more than $100,000 his first year. But even as his financial prospects improved, Bunnell was painfully withdrawing from a relationship with the mother of his son. The two are now on friendly terms, and Bunnell sees his son often. He describes his political identity at the time as anti-SJW, against social justice warriors. These were days when words like cunt and retard would reflexively exit Bunnell's mouth, along with what has become a D-based salutation on the internet, kill yourself.
Didn't he just say the C slur a second ago? I didn't even catch that in the first one. I didn't even catch that in the article. He's saying this, like, the article is like saying, oh, he uses this like edgy language. And he used to use this edgy dude, have you guys ever seen the Mitch Hedberg joke? Where he's like, I used to do drugs. I still do drugs, but I used to do drugs too. That's what this article is doing with like, these slurs. It's like Stephen Bunnell used to use the C slur and the R slur. He still does, but he used to too.
Comic value of the gag is measured in its repugnance. Bunnell once quarreled on Twitter with a woman who claimed she'd been sexually assaulted. At the end of their exchange...
Okay, I'm going to fast forward this one because this is a little bit of Nebraska Steve coming out there. It's the shovel meme, for those of you who don't know, which is a very spicy comment. I'm going to skip that one.
Anyone I came across it for two reasons. One...
Wait, when you say I can't interpret this as a gag, now you can talk about the offensiveness or whatever of a tweet, which, by the way, that tweet was wild, okay? But this is like a 2016 tweet. I said it was wild. I shouldn't, obviously, I'm a fucking crazy person, okay? It was bad. I shouldn't have tweeted it. But are we evaluating this as though, like, Stephen Bunnell at the time genuinely and sincerely hoped that somebody would find this woman and rape them with a shovel?
Okay. All right. Nope. It was very clearly Nebraska Steve doing Nebraska Steve things. For those of you who don't know, Stephen has gone through several iterations, okay? The shovel meme, yeah. Stephen said something very spicy with a shovel on Twitter, and it was in reference to, I don't even want to get into it. You could Google it if you want. I think it's horrifying. It's obviously not said seriously, but it's horrifying. And it's basically what I promised to do with Doobie, except for instead of involving a broom, it involved a shovel. So who am I to judge? Although I was threatening a man, I wasn't even threatening a man. I was telling a man, I don't even want to say it. I don't even want to finish the sentence. This is a family show, guys. This is a family show. So I don't even want to finish the sentence. But the point is that Stephen said something spicy. Probably shouldn't have said it. You can think it's funny. You can think it's messed up. It doesn't really matter. But the point is that, Steve has gone through several iterations. Nebraska Steve, as some people affectionately refer to Steve, was when he was the most spicy on social media. He was saying the craziest, most unhinged, rude, racist, sexist, crazy shit on the internet that Stephen has ever said. Los Angeles Steve was a little bit less spicy because he was married, he had friends who were big streamers, he was doing this, he was doing that. He would still say edgy stuff, he would still get in crazy debates, but he wasn't as edgy as Nebraska Steve. I would say Miami Steve is actually probably a mix between Nebraska and Los Angeles Steve. It's not as spicy as Nebraska Steve, but it's still quite spicy, right? It's like the difference between mayonnaise, fresh jalapenos, and pickled jalapenos. Nebraska Steve was fresh jalapenos. Los Angeles Steve was mayonnaise. Miami Steve is pickled jalapenos.
And a primarily absent father, which is probably at least partially why his son has now descended into white supremacist circles.
I think this is an unfair criticism, but I'm going to let it play out because I think there's something worth commenting on.
His son, right? You're gonna have like a lot of more like you'd imagine you'd have a lot more like liberal ideologies being raised by somebody like Destiny. So like, what point was it where you kind of like came into your own and formed like your own separate belief system?
It was kind of around a few months ago. I started talking to a lot more creators.
Thoughts on Hitler? Don't get me banned, bro.
Ooh, a great guy. Great guy.
This despite the fact that Destiny said many times throughout the years how active he was.
Despite Destiny saying Hitler is not a great guy.
This kid's life.
Correct?
Yeah.
Are you involved or is...
Yeah, I lived there until he was around 9. Then I moved to California, and then Florida, and then anytime I travel, I try to visit him afterwards. So
Gotcha.
I get to Nebraska tomorrow to hang out.
You said he's 9?
Yeah. No, until he was 9. He's 12 now.
Okay, gotcha.
Before we move on from this topic, I want to draw a parallel here between some of the things that Nathan, Destiny's son, says about his personal struggles.
If we think that I'm a Nazi, though, wouldn't that just be further evidence that I am influencing his political beliefs? Isn't that kind of how that works? No?
Yeah, I like being mean to people online. It's fun. I like getting responses out of people. I like the attention.
Do you think that your dad is like proud of your social media stuff? Like, would you say that your dad is proud of you right now and everything that you're
doing? No.
No?
No, because I tell Nathan all the time to fuck off with this crazy social media shit, which he should, by the way, if you're listening.
No.
We could have communicated the same idea with slightly less spicy language, but that's okay. I understand. So, okay. Lots of people criticize Stephen's relationship with Nathan, believing that him acting out is a response to their distance in their relationship, however. I think that this is kind of funny as a criticism from a lefty, from a leftist or whatever, because oftentimes like lefties and leftists, the reason why they are the way they are is because they've dealt with such like aggressive, crazy, conservative, overbearing, religiously dogmatic parents that they rebel and jump in the opposite direction. So is Stephen a soy, blue-haired, liberal progressive whose overbearing progressive demeanor has led to his son jumping in the opposite direction? Or is Stephen like an evil, manipulative sociopath who grifts the left wing, but realistically is more right wing, and so his son is following in his father's footsteps, right? Like these arguments are kind of contradictory, and so I think the critics who bring up Nathan, they basically need to pick their lane.
Why not?
Kind of just going. I'm kind of self-destructing. I'm destroying my life basically, but it, and I don't do anything to stop it, and I know that I am.
And some of the ways that Destiny has spoken about his own struggles in the past and how they manifested.
Well, I was left pretty much to my own devices growing up. My parents didn't come to my concerts or come to school plays. Holy pathologizing or pathologizing! Yes,
very edgy shonen-esque figures where people like Solid Snake or whatever in JRPGs and shit.
Where's my Cloud Strife quote?
A pretty individual person. This has its ups, it has its downs. For me personally, in this business, it's been a major.
So apparently shit talking you is okay and mentioning your son, but apparently you're the monster, very like behavior. I mean, like, I think there's a world where you can deep dive on a person's history because you might be interested in figuring out, I guess, like where their belief system comes from. Or again, like I said, if there's something that's hard to explain. The annoying thing, I guess, for me is I'm so transparent about my lifestyle, for better or for worse, about like the research I do on stream, about my thought process on stream. Like I'm pretty transparent about everything. So it's just annoying when I'll say like 5 or 6 different things, and then like, losers like this will be like, we have to figure out what he really meant. Like what's actually going on here. It's like, why not just like, you can just like listen to what I'm saying. There's not a mystery here to be solved. Major benefit to me, like an insurmountable benefit.
And I want to draw these two parallels because this is just one of many examples we will see of Stephen not really understanding how his actions affect others. So for example, how his son is seemingly dealing with many of the same things that he dealt with because of his absence and short-sightedness. The other thing I find interesting is the way this profile of Destiny, written in 2020, goes out of its way to give him credit for personal growth while calling out the horrible things he said in the past. But the way the profile is written gives the impression that while he came up in transgressive and awful internet circles, it was around 2012 that he reflected and began to grow as a person, moving into liberal politics and away from reactionary edginess. The problem with that narrative established is that the tweet mentioned in the context of Destiny starting streaming in 2011 is actually from an incident in 2015. This might seem like a minor nitpick, but it cuts at an undercurrent of much of Destiny's coverage.
Bro, I grew up as an insanely online, like crazy internet person saying insanely unhinged shit. And in 2012 or 2013, I think is when I stopped using faggot as an insult because of an experience I had in Poland. That was like the start. Do people think that this like change happens in a month?
No, dude. Okay, but this is what's funny to me. He's like, oh, I grew up in an incredibly spicy internet era. He called his former boss the C slur earlier in the stream. Dude, it's the Mitch Hedberg joke. It's the Mitch Hedberg joke. Let me show you. For those of you who don't know Mitch Hedberg, I think he died in his late 20s or early 30s. He was like a late 90s comedian. Mitch Hedberg. And he always does these he always does these like play on words where like he just like he takes you down a path where you think you know that like you know where he's going, but then he just like totally veers in a different direction because he's either doing a play on words or he's doing a conceptual play. And so this is destiny, okay? This is destiny in reference to saying bad words. All right, 1 second. Let me make sure the audio is working, all right? This is destiny in reference to saying bad, spicy language.
I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too.
I used to say the C slur. I mean, I still do, but I used to too. Yeah, Mitch used to be dead. He still is, but he was also dead a while ago. Oh my God. Dude, that's Steven. In reference to being spicy, that's Steven.
Like what? Like, oh shit, my whole idea. Actually, you know what? Unironically, I will tell you this as a life advice thing for a red flag. If somebody has a massive political change or shift that happens in the course of a month or two, especially if they go from one radical ideology or belief system to another, that's always a huge red flag.
I'm going to throw a little bit of an elbow that I'm happy to talk with any person about. He's talking about Hunter Avallone and Xander Hall.
It means that the person doesn't have any kind of like consistent, coherent way to generate beliefs or thoughts or feelings. They're not doing any kind of like actual genuine reflection or change. And they just like to adopt extremist radical belief systems, usually because they're looking for a friend group or a community that they belong, or that they want to belong to, basically.
In the mainstream, and that is giving him way too much credit and goodwill. Because this trend of Destiny getting goodwill that erases the things he's done is
legit questioning at Destiny, but have you ever discussed what happened and why you stayed with your ex, etc.? Obviously, if that's all private, it's one thing, but maybe that would help discredit their claims. But when people are attacking your personal life, there's nothing to discredit. Like anything you release or talk about is always going to be used, more against you. Like me and Nathan's mom staying together, well, maybe not together, but being closer, obviously is going to be more beneficial for being a parent. In terms of where he should live, like his mom and the family system that he has around there would be way better than anything that I have out of state.
Okay. Hold on a second. So, Sacred Snow says, oh, and sorry, did I miss this super chat? Let me read the super chat real quick. Thank you for the 500 Argentinian pesos. Real Serious says, it's neither of those things. It's a fact that if you went into DGG Discord, Nathan would sometimes be there in voice chat, or that Kelly Jean stopped talking to him. That's just a parenting issue where neither Destiny nor his mom took away his phone. I mean, I agree with that, but also I'm a parent, man. Parenting's hard. Like you have to balance protecting your child, both from the outside world and from themselves, versus letting them grow and making mistakes that they can then learn from. And I don't know the balance, man. Like I'm figuring out the balance myself. My wife and I, we talk about the balance all the time. And so I think I lean more on the let your kid make mistakes aspect of things so they can learn from mistakes and they can learn from crazy experiences that they go through. Whereas I think my wife is more on the, no, it's our job as parents to protect them from bad experiences and to also guide them through tough experiences. And the truth is, neither of us know what the perfect formula is. She didn't have a perfect childhood. I didn't have a perfect childhood. I think my parents are fundamentally good people. I think that her parents are fundamentally good people, but also flawed people. I think she would also say that my parents are flawed. So yeah, like, no, well, hold on. So, Samson is saying parenting failures are decent criticism. I think you got to figure out like, sorry, just as an example, this might feel sweepy. My parents told me to take my academics seriously. I did not take my academics seriously. Is that a parenting failure on their end? They told me not to join the Marine Corps. I joined the Marine Corps. Did they fail as parents? They told me to go to a better school than the school that I went to. I went to the less reputable school. Did they fail? They told me not to be a cop. I became a cop. Did they fail? You know what I'm saying? Like at some point we become our own moral agents, and I would say like 16 to 18, and I think Nathan's around like 15. He's around that age. I would say around 16 to 18, I started making choices for myself. Consequences be damned. And I would say that my parents probably failed in parenting in a few ways. I would also say they did a lot for my benefit. A lot. Like if you're talking about like good to bad, I would say their ratio for good parenting to bad parenting is probably like 80-20, 95-5. And I know kids who had like parents who just didn't even raise them at all. There were parents who didn't put any kind of effort whatsoever into having children or raising said children. So if my parents are at an 80 to 95% good parents, and I still made a whole host of stupid decisions that they told me not to make, you know, well, what can you do, right? What are you gonna do? So addressing what Sacred Snow said real quick though. Hold up. Maybe I'm misunderstanding Connor. I don't think Destiny stopped saying the F slur because it was spicy. I think he stopped saying it because sexual orientation shouldn't be an insult. I don't think the C slur is a sexual orientation. It's definitely a gendered insult. The see you next Tuesday word is a pretty spicy gendered insult. And I would say it's worse than BITCH. You know what I'm saying? I think the C slur is worse than BITCH, and people use or women say that BITCH is a gendered insult that they don't like because they know that it's gendered and it has a bunch of connotations of female behavior. So anyways, the point is, like, I agree with you that he allegedly stopped saying the F slur because he no longer wanted to hurt the people who could not control their sexual orientation, who were being hurt by him using the slur. But then I still think that he's quite spicy about a whole host of words that you could use the exact same rationale that he used to justify stopping to say the F slur. He could 100% use the same rationale to stop saying other bad words. Now, I don't care. I love bad words. If I could use the F slur right now, I would. If I could use the N word right now, I would. If I could use the R slur right now, I would. I love spicy language. That's not my criticism. My criticism is that there like seems to be a inconsistency where you're saying, "Oh, I used to be more spicy than I am." C slur like that. That's kind of crazy. I don't care. I think it's funny, but you know, I just think there's a little bit of an inconsistency. Good grief, Griff says, Connor says this, but when his kid gets into teenage years and starts listening to Hassan every day, he'll turn on dime. Oh, dude, if my kid starts listening to Hassan Piker or a Hassan Piker leftist, I'm taking their digital devices. 100%. 100%. I wish I would have seen that 5 minutes ago, because you could probably draw some pretty hard lines where I'm like, nope, that's enough. I'm taking your devices. You're right. You're right. You owned me. You owned me in 30 seconds. You brought up an extreme example of when 100% I would act differently. Yep, 100%. You got me. You owned me in the marketplace of ideas. Good grief, Grip. Own me. Good grief, Griff. Join Beef Supreme and AF Racing in the people who have owned me in the marketplace of ideas. Hedonic Samuel says, Connor, what's Dylan's new video called? I can tell you. Give me a second. Give me 1 second to find it. It is called An Assault by Ukrainian Prisoner Soldiers. It is on YouTube. So go take a look. I haven't looked at it myself yet. I'll like it. Valor Media Network is not subscribed to Dylan Burns TV, so I'll fix that. I'll also download it so I get a full view on the content. Strong recommendation. Dylan Burns is a phenomenal human being. I freaking love Dylan Burns. So we'll be talking to him. We'll be talking to him at 6 p.m. today.
I mean, what do you want me to say? Like, but I'm also not going to sit here and say like, oh, I'm a perfect parent, or there aren't things that I could have done better, or there aren't times where I definitely like optimized for career over potentially sacrificing career stuff and staying in Nebraska. Like these are all things that you could make the argument for, but it's just to like to weaponize these things to pathologize my political beliefs is, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. But hey, listen, go off, Queen.
Is important because he just continues to do them. He continues to say shit like this to this day. For example, this article also mentions that he was inspired to start reflecting on his politics when he saw...
Sorry, Real Serious with 200 ARS. Thank you for the multiple chips, King. Real Serious says, I'm okay with letting kids do dumb stuff, but it's another thing to let him into your Discord full of e-thoughts and political weirdos who will latch onto him for being Destiny's son. Your kids should F up, but you should be the safe space. I agree. I agree. And I think you and Good Grief Griff, let me see if there's still so many glue fumes in my room that I'm actually going to die.
I think I'll be okay. I think I'll be okay. I have a chess piece, by the way. Is that the right side? No, this is the right side. Got a chess piece. Let's see it full screen real quick. You guys can't really see it, but I have breasticles now. Let me, I have breasticles. That's not that bad of a fit on my chesticles. I think if I sanded it and painted it, that wouldn't be too bad of a fit. I could probably increase it a few millimeters, but I'll paint it, I'll sand it, I'll paint it, I'll sand this, I'll put the, visor screen in, I'll put the bike helmet pads in, and so I'll have a chesticle piece, and I'll have a helmet. Yeah, we're doing the whole armor, guys. I don't know if I also need more gloop. Not to get high, but to finish cementing this thing together. I might do some plastic welds on it. But anyways, I agree with you. I think you guys have successfully, my chat has successfully owned me in the marketplace of ideas. There are hard limits to the behavior that I would tolerate from my children. And falling down a political extremist rabbit hole would 100% be one of the fastest ways to lose your internet access for my children. If my children were under the age of 18 and either living in my household or the household of my my wife, let's say we were divorced, then like I would emphasize to my ex-wife in Steven's scenario, I would emphasize to my ex-wife, like, no, this is actually important. He's falling down a bad rabbit hole. It can lead to disastrous results. It's too dangerous to play around with. If he wants to be 18 years old and play around with these ideas, that's totally fine. He'll be an adult at that point and we can't stop him. But as long as he's in our household, we will protect him from said extremist political ideology. I would actually probably do that. I would probably take my child's internet accessed. So I think Real Serious and Good Grief Griff did successfully own me. How much does it cost to make the ODST helmet? Almost nothing. $20. $20. It cost me, I would say that a filament cost me $25 for 2 spools. I think the ODST helmet was 2 spools, so probably $25. And then I already have a $400 printer. So I have the Bamboo Lab A1 printer. Strong recommend. It's a fantastic 3D printer. I cannot recommend it enough. Cool. So you can make another one? Absolutely. Christian Blairis, I hate going to the post office, but if you said, hey, Connor, I need another helmet, I would make another helmet for you super easy. It's super easy. Yeah. I'll make the entire community ODST armor. It'll take me a long time, but I'll do it. Destiny used to say homophobic slurs. He still does, but he used to too. Yeah, Fatsimo says send Destiny's son to cowboy camp. I would. Send Destiny's child. I don't want no scrub. Scrub is the kind of guy get no love from me. And the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. Do you know how big of a banger that was in like 1998? Whenever that song was released, that was like the most banging ass chick song on the planet. I don't want no scrub. Dude, I must have heard I don't want no scrub like probably 10,000 times. Yeah. So I would send Destiny's Child to cowboy camp. 100%. Yep. Nice. You guys are just going to make me sing. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Stick to the rivers and the lakes that you used to. I know that you're gonna have it your way, you're loving it all, but I think you're moving too fast. Bow, 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 down. Oh my God, what a banger, dude. Do I sing Destiny's Child and or TLC while huffing glue? Normally, no. Normally, I don't, but today I do. Holy shit, what a banger. Yeah, Dank Brandon, I banned my stepson from Discord until he's 18. Man, good for you. I support you, man. I support you. I think that there. Oh shit! I was watching content. Was I just like staring into blackness, or did you guys actually hear the content continuing? Because I've been playing content for like 40 seconds. My bad. My bad. I literally just listened to Steven for like 30 seconds without you guys. But Dank Brandon, so if it looked like I was high on glue staring into the camera for 30 seconds, I was actually listening to new content. So my apologies. But Dank Brandon says, I banned my stepson from Discord until he was 18. Good for you, King. Good for you. Honestly, like I know that was probably a fight. I know it was probably a fight with the kid. I know it was probably a fight with mom. I know it was probably a fight in order to actually get it done. But straight up, like I understand that it's you got to balance it, man. You got to balance the risk and the opportunity for growth with the actual just like risk that you're creating a bad human being. And I genuinely do like the Jordan Peterson advice of like, do not let your kids do something that makes you not like them. I understand that is, I'm going to view this deleted message. ABCDEF said something spicy. Oh, buy Pepe coin. Oh yeah, you're banned, buddy. All right, I'm in the wrong thing to ban you. If that guy comes back, ban him. But anyways, yeah, my apologies for losing the audio. But no audio, just me nodding silently. All right. Back to the content. But yes, I think there are dangers out there that are so dangerous that you do need to protect your children from them. I think preventing them from becoming political R-slurs is 100% something that you should protect your children from. Absolutely.
People also drop this word a lot too, where they're like, no accountability. Like, I got banned for 30 days. What do you want me to say? What am I supposed to kill myself? Like, what the fuck? What am I supposed to say or do?
Ended on Twitch for spouting that same word. These outbursts, by the way, he doesn't really ever take any kind of responsibility for, and will instead continually chalk up his Twitch bans to being targeted by crazy radical leftists or whatever.
But that's not every single Twitch ban. A lot of them were crazy and ridiculous, but that was probably a fair ban. Now, it was the first time anybody got banned on Twitch for saying that word, but I mean, hey, it was a fair ban. It was part of their slur, hate speech policy or whatever. But like, I mean, like, what else am I supposed to do? Do I need to go on like an apology tour and find every gay person and tell them I'm sorry?
While he's tried to reshape his image over the years and even claims to have phased words out of his vocabulary, at his heart, he is still the same person who said these things. He never...
Like, what? That's such an insanely deranged take. But okay.
Really lost.
Just let the glue hit you really hard. It's just obvious as if it looks like I was high on glue staring into space for 30 seconds, you make it sound like you weren't doing that. Officer Nasty says, I just thought the glue hit you hard there for a second. I mean, that also happened, but yes. All right. Anyways, sorry.
His edgelord side, he just found a way to monetize it and get attention from it, which is what I aim to illustrate by laying out a timeline like this. So let's go back to the beginning of Steven's streaming career. It was 2011, so being an abrasive, dickish tryhard was in vogue, and Destiny
This is not 2011, but okay.
got plenty of notoriety for his place in the trend. And it's in this origin story that we see the saplings that will become the shrubly man that Destiny is now. Much like Matt Walsh got his start as a sadistic shock jock, which was an early insight into his personal cruelty to others, Destiny's start as a transgressive, immature, rage-fueled gamer feels like a guide to everything he did next. Over the years, it's become clear, for example, that Destiny still
What's
loves
the problem, man? Not trying to misgender this person.
Everything he did next. Over the years, it's become clear for
Stop. Pause. What's wrong? What's wrong with this shit? I don't need the chat. Problem, man. Not trying. Hold on. What is happening?
This is not 2011, but okay.
Got plenty of notoriety.
Okay, hold on. There's this thing. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Space King. Okay, YouTube. Space King. And I don't know if I'm going to pull it up, but there's this ad in the middle of Space King. Space King is done by a group called Flash Kits. I love it. It's a total rip on Warhammer 40K. And what happens in this thing is they just kind of like meme about 40K. They make jokes about it. They created their own universe. They have obnoxious psycho warriors and power armor with holy globules and all this kind of stuff. But there's this commercial in the middle of it where they're like selling merchandise or selling something. And they're like, there's plenty of cartoons out there. They always do this like obnoxious voice. Like there's plenty of cartoons out there for mentally ill girls, but what about mentally ill young girls? But what about mentally ill young boys? And what about men in their late 30s? Or what about mentally ill men in their 30s too? And then he like throws up like 2 peace signs or whatever. And dude, that's me, man. That's me. I was a teenager at one point. I was doing crazy stuff. I was smoking the grass. I was engaging with violent media. I was playing video games. I was doing all sorts of crazy stuff. The holy globules. Is that what holds the gloop? Yeah, I think so, actually. But anyways, like, I genuinely think that men need to find their teenage rebellious side a little bit. Okay? Just a little bit. You shouldn't be so obnoxious about your teenage rebellious side that you're insufferable to be around, and therefore you don't have any friends or a spouse or a hobby or a job or anything like that. But I do also think that there's something to be said that like men in the current era, older men, need to reassert their right. They need to fight for their right to party, man. They need to fight for their right to enjoy themselves and have fun. And I think that we've kind of lost that, where it feels like there's this improper balance. The goon balance is off, where effectively we have a bunch of dinks and sinks saying, no, I can never have kids. I don't want the responsibility. I don't want all this crap because it's just going to mean that I can't grow up. And then we have a bunch of adults, and I would put myself in this category. We have a bunch of like dry, sad, boring adults who can't be fun anymore. Unork's asking me to sing again. But we can't be fun anymore because we can't enjoy our teenage rebellious spirit. And I think that we genuinely need to find that joie de vivre, that joy of life, and that like rebellious balance. And that rebellious balance needs to come back, not just for dinks and sinks. It needs to come back for men with responsibilities as well. Because I think otherwise your soul just kind of dies. And yeah, so we need to figure out the balance. Can't be totally dry, can't be totally boring, can't be totally sucked into every responsibility ever, can't be totally self-interested, can't be totally narcissistic, can't be totally goony. We need to find the middle ground between these two positions. So, yeah.
variety for his place in the trend. And it's in this origin story that we see the saplings that will become the shrubly man that Destiny is now. Much like Matt Walsh got his start as a sadistic shock jock, which was an early insight into his personal cruelty to others, Destiny's start as a transgressive, immature, rage-fueled gamer feels like a guide to everything he did next. Over the years, it's become clear, for example, that Destiny still loves some offensive humor, and by offensive humor, I mean he almost certainly just says racial slurs in private to his friends. I'm not aghast by this behavior, by the way. Don't mistake me clutching my progressive identity politics pearls.
Yeah.
I just think it's cringe to have the same go-to playground insults as a middle schooler. He still calls people the R-slur like he's playing...
What play? But like...
Based. Kate says, my eldest turns 18 in 3 months. My youngest is 5. Being a parent is fun and cool. No, I agree. And I do think that women, maybe I'm being sexist here a little bit, I think women do find more joie de vivre in the raising of the kids portion, whereas the dads, basically, they just want to like... maybe I'm just speaking for myself. I want to do karate with my kids. Okay, that's what I want to do. Changing diapers, I'll do it. Feeding kids, I'll do it. Cleaning up the house, I'll do it. But it's not my raison d'etre. Okay, it's not my reason of being. Okay, my reason of being, in reference to being a parent, is walking into my kids' room and being obnoxious, like throwing the door open like I'm Kramer, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And then like poking them in the face until they try to attack me with karate. And then karate fighting them for several minutes at a time until one of us gets hurt. Typically, it's them that'll get hurt, right? Because I'm bigger, stronger, and faster. But sometimes it's me that gets hurt. Sometimes they karate chop me in the exact right spot, or they kick me in the exact right spot, and I get hurt. And that's amazing. I love that. I love doing karate with my kids. I love being obnoxious and funny and sarcastic and weird. And do I yell slurs like Kramer? No, not at my kids. Around my kids, sure. At my kids, no. But anyways, all I'm trying to say, because I'm high on glue right now, is find that joie de vivre, find that raison d'etre. And if you're a boring guy who's stuck with all of your responsibilities, try to find your teenage rebellious side again. And if you're stuck in your teenage rebellious side and you don't want to grow up, then eliminate your Peter Pan syndrome and adopt some responsibility while holding on to your teenage joy. There's got to be a balance here that we can find. Yeah. Sometimes they take your Theracane and cripple me with it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Jonah, exactly. Dude, exactly. You're taking the words out of my mouth. I see hundreds of posts a day on Twitter being like, as a man, you can't like video games, animation, action figures, or anything fun. Like, okay, let me just be a joyless wage slave. That's so much better. No. They want you to worship yourself. They're satanic. Okay. And I'm not saying satanic in the right-wing way. Okay, I'll take a look at it, Officer Nasty. Chill the fuck out. I'm not trying to say satanic in like they worship the devil. That's not what I'm saying. The Church of Satanism has two interpretations. One interpretation is that you actually worship the opponent to God, which I think is cringe. It's like paganism or whatever. But there's another Satanism that's basically saying like, you have a spark of creation inside you and pursuing your pleasure and your ambitions it's basically like a Sith philosophy. I'm not kidding. And it's basically like worshiping your own intellect and worshiping yourself, right? As a player. And so as a result, it become incredibly narcissistic, nihilistic, hedonistic, self-serving, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that what they want to do, the hustle bros, is number one, they want you to spend $500 to $2,000 on their hustle bro university class, right? But number two, they want to worship themselves. They want to be physically fit, not because it's actually good for them. They want to be physically fit so they can flex on the weak people. They want to be rich, not because it's a means to an end. They want to be rich. That way they can flex on women who need their money in order to, the women don't need sexual access. The men need sexual access, but they're using women to grant themselves sexual access. And then because they're granting themselves sexual access to some of the most attractive people in society, that's another reason that they can be self-worshiping. You know what I'm saying? And so as a result, like those people are a plague. The red pill are a plague upon the American zeitgeist. And yeah, bump those people. Screw those people. I think they're evil. I think they're as evil as any, name another political faction, name another cultural faction. I think the self-worshiping, materialistic, hustle culture, Andrew Tate, red pill culture is as evil as any other ideology that you tell me.
Bro, I don't know if there's been more like embarrassing / humiliating / revenge porn shit of me leaked everywhere on the internet, including Ethan, the pedophile, fucking H3H3. Like everybody on the internet has posted so many of my DMs and everything. Notice how there's never, ever, ever, ever been a DM leak of me being like, yeah, that guy's an N-word. Oh yeah, blah, blah, oh yeah. Notice how like that's just never, ever happened. And it's not even because I'm too good for it. It's just not even like really part of my vocabulary. I'm just not like a very big racial slur utilizer. It's just not a thing I do. I like, just because I defend the principle of the thing doesn't mean that this is the only humor that I have or the only go-to stuff I have. Like it's such a shallow engagement with everything, I guess.
Xbox Live in a 2009 Modern Warfare 2 lobby. In leaked messages from his own server, for example, as recent as the last few months, he still says shit like this. And I'm sure if there are any loyal members of his audience left after his various controversies.
Like, are we, this is also a thing that I
Nah. I laughed, Officer Nasty. Officer Nasty says, Connor, when the glue escapes the vent, bruh. That's me for real, for real. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that glooby did that glooby do be hitting.
fucking hate these people for it, including this fucking person, because I know they defend Hassan. All of these people are subhuman fucks, okay? The idea that, and even if you want to be critical of a white person saying nigga or whatever, that's fine. Listen, I don't say a lot.
Oh, he just said it. But okay, hold on. I'm gonna address that in a second. So Rob says, Connor, this dovetails into the this is water nicely, because here's something else that's weird but true. In the day-to-day trenches of adult life, there's actually no such thing as atheism. There's no such thing as not worshiping. Everybody worships. The only choice we get is what to worship. I'm of that school of thought, 100%. Okay, so let's talk about it. So I think, I'm not going to say the word, even though I would. So the N-word with an A, okay? N-word with an ER. One time, I'm going to tell you a story about Iraq, okay? I was in Iraq, and I was in a unit. We're talking about the N-word now, okay? So when I was in Iraq, I was deployed with a unit that was probably like out of 22 people, probably 16 or 17 people were black. Now, one of them was Afro-Caribbean, one of them was from New York, one of them was from Houston, one of them was like a mixed race stoner guy. I don't even know if he was from California, but basically if you thought of the personality of somebody from California, he had the personality of somebody from California. It was a totally diverse group of black guys, but 16 out of like 22 of the people were black guys, right? It was actually crazy. And so what ended up happening was there was a Polish guy, there was me, and there was a Brazilian guy, and he was kind of brown. He wasn't really white. He was brown-ish. There was 2 Mexicans, and then everybody else was black, including my gunnery sergeant, including my sergeant, including the other sergeant, including my corporals, including the lance corporals. Everybody was black, right? And so what ended up happening was, because the unit was dominated by black guys, the N-word was just used all the time, dude. Just anybody of equal rank, corporals or below, N-word all the time. Like, ninja, we got to go do this. Let's go do this, ninja, blah, 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 blah. Ninja this, ninja that, ninja please. Like, dude, ninja was just like, the way that I used MFer, the way that I use F, the F's profane word, the way that I use that as a flexible part of the way that I use that language, the N-word with an A was just all the time, right? And so what happened was, I got used to it. And I started to say ninja routinely. Nobody cared. And then one time, somebody was talking to me about something, and I basically said, ER. I said it with a hard R, please. Contextually, I should have used an A, but I used an ER, and everybody was like, But what had happened, because we were on a 7-month deployment. Yeah, can a ninja get a pencil? Because we were on a 7-month deployment and we'd already like 3 or 4 months in, and we were already friends, and we already had started using the word together or whatever. No, I'm telling this story. Okay. What happened was effectively like a sit down heart to heart, where my sergeant, a corporal, and like another guy, and like a lance corporal or whatever, they sat down and they basically like walked me through the end. It was like a 20-minute hip pocket military class on uses of the N-word. Okay. And so what ended up happening is that they told me, like, ninja can be used. Well, we were in the smoke pit, so it wasn't like it was still in the smoke pit. It wasn't like we actually sat down with a PowerPoint presentation about the N-word. It was in the smoke pit. So we sit down and we're going to talk about it. And it's like, well, ninja with an A can still be used derogatorily, right? You could still use it in an insulting context. You can still say, you know, whatever, right? Like, I'm not even going to give you examples, but you can use it in an insulting context. But realistically, it's used in the same flexible way that a lot of working class people use the word motherfucker, right? So, motherfucker, please, you know, I love you, motherfucker. Like you're using a derogatory language, but you're also using it as a term of endearment simultaneously for the N-word with an A. Whereas with an ER, they're like, an ER is almost exclusively negative. And not only is it exclusively negative, not even black folk really use it in like a negative context, because it's viewed as like so insulting and so like attempting to reminisce or attempting to bring back the days of slavery, that it's like there's almost no good way to use ER, right? Even amongst the black community. And so you could use it to say like, oh, this is the kind of behavior that we don't want to follow. But if you use it as an insult against another human being, you can almost expect it to start a fist fight, right? And so as a result, that's been my understanding forever. Not forever. That's been my understanding since 2008, I suppose. And so I came back to the United States. I came back and I was still using it, right? I was using it in my new unit. I was using it in California. I was using it when I went to college. And what I noticed is that a lot of people were like really off put by it. They effectively thought, including my wife, by the way, they were really off put by it because they thought that I was invoking the meaning and context of ER when I was clearly using A contexts. I was not being insulting. I was not using it to demean anybody. I was not using it in a context that was inappropriate. Typically, I was using it with friends, like all that kind of stuff. And so as a result, like, I don't know, I had like the Wigga card. You know what I'm saying? And but what I found is over time that the sensitivity that we had pushed past in my military unit, that sensitivity was not pushed past in my unit in California. It was not pushed past in California in general in civilian life. It was not pushed past in Florida. And so as a result, I stopped using it. And it's not because I don't think that I could use it in a flexible, contextually appropriate way. It's just that the juice isn't really worth the squeeze, where if I was to use it casually, the way that Steven just did now, I don't want to have like a hip pocket class with random progressive white people who are freaking out and random black people who don't think that I should have the right to say it. I don't want to have like a 30-minute conversation about it every time I use it. And so as a result, I just stopped using it, which is kind of like sad to me. Like, once again, like I make this a joke, but I am serious. I wish we could solve systemic racism. I wish that black folk, black kids lived in a nice part of town. I wish they went to decent schools. I wish their kids had the same graduation rates as everybody else. I wish that they went on to secondary education and professional jobs. I wish that they had access to all the material and opportunity that's available to every other group in America, relatively speaking. And I wish that they had long, successful, and fruitful lives that were statistically as normal as white people or Asians or Hispanics or whatever, right? And then I think we could probably get to a world where white boys could be using ninja routinely, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal because we actually live in a relatively equal world. But I think that I think we're just not there, right? I think we're just not there. And so my fight, my sincere fight to try to end systemic racism is so I gain the privilege to say the N-word with an A again. So, yeah. Anyways, like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. You guys have been incredibly generous today. We had 2 Oilers kick us off. We had Travis Taze and Anonymous Chatter both give $100 super chats. Everybody else has been chipping, and I Parasocial love you. I promise I'll read your names before we end. I'm going to continue with the content, though, because we still have some time. I'm going to continue with the content, and honestly, I'm still going to be engaging with the content, but I'm also going to be engaging with what you guys said about the past 10 minutes of my racial slur N-word analysis.
Okay, you don't like a white person typing whatever, that's fine.
From the ashes with the 5 says, don't worry, Connor, I invited you to the cookout. Now I bestow upon you the coveted A pass. Use it wisely, for it can easily be revoked by another. Yes. Thank you.
But to equate this to calling somebody like a racial slur, you should have your internet privileges revoked from you. Like, it's so fucking retarded, and it drives me so crazy.
True.
People like this need to go to a camp. Clip me and put me in the next stupid slut video you make of me. When somebody will sit here and say, well, Hassan and his entire community is spamming and calling you Gusano as a slur against you because your family has a half Cuban background, that's actually based in okay. But you using a word that can be used as a racial slur, but not necessarily as a racial slur, that
yes. What he's saying is 100% true, and I'm going to agree with it without caveat because I'm high on glue right now. It's so true, dude. The slurs totally have to do with intent. Okay. I've called my Hispanic friends all sorts of horrible slurs. And the reason why I felt comfortable doing it is because we were fucking with each other, because we were brothers, because I was bringing up his ethno-religious heritage and his immigration status. He was a US citizen, but he was first generation. My friend Via, God, I love Via. I wish I could hang out with Via right now. But Via, he was first generation Mexican, joined the Marine Corps, right? His parents were illegal. So we joked about him and we used all sorts of horrible language about his ethno-religious upbringing. But it was funny because what he did is he immediately started bringing up white stereotypes and white slurs and white jokes and started having fun with it and started fucking with me the way that I was fucking with him. It was hilarious and it was fraternal and it was brotherly and it was great. Oh, Christ, I miss being in a fraternity of racist people who are racist because it's funny, not racist because they're actually racist. That was like, honestly, that was like some of the most like American shit I've ever experienced, is being with like 20 young men on the other side of the world, risking our lives in the name of American national security and being horrifically racist to each other, but not because we actually hated each other, but because we were fucking with each other because it was funny. That was straight up like one of the most brotherly experiences I've ever had in my entire life. And sometimes I do genuinely miss it.
It's actually the worst thing ever. It's such a mind-numbingly stupid fucking critique. Like, it's so retarded. It's so stupid. I don't know if I've ever... I'm trying to think.
Oh, and sorry, to put a point on that pencil, using Gusano, if you were using Gusano and you had a Cuban friend and you were fucking with them and it was a joke, that would be one thing. If you're using Gusano because you're actually saying that somebody is a subhuman worm and that they should be, based off of their Hispanic Cuban descendants, they should be treated as a worm, that's actually like vile. Now, I understand that there's a economic connotation where Gusano is used in the context of like socioeconomic profiteers who step on their fellow Cubans in order to make a buck. I understand that there's like a socioeconomic connotation to it. But even then, if you're going to like cry when random white people sing the N-word in a car with nobody else around and they're saying it with an A in context of listening to music, and then you're going to say that using Gusano as a racialized slur against a Hispanic person is not bigoted at all, you have no consistent, logical, principled basis for your argumentation, and you're a dumbass and you make discourse worse.
If I've ever been my single time in my life, and again, it's not like I call people fags a lot because it's, listen, that's an RTS word. We said that. I don't know if I've ever.
God, I miss the F slur too.
Or called somebody like a racial slur as an insult. But I do know, I don't think I have, well, besides the Goog incident and StarCraft. That was different though. I didn't know he was Korean. But I shouldn't have said that either. But regardless of anything I've said or done, I've never defended the concept of calling people slurs, which is one thing that I noticed that a lot of these, a lot of people that will bring up my N-word debate with Hassan, we'll talk about this, like my defenses of edgy humor or edgy jokes, but that doesn't mean just calling people slurs. Like, that's not a joke. Like, I've never said like, oh yeah, you should call black people the N-word. Oh yeah, you should call this person.
Yeah, which was never the argumentation. This is actually part of the reason why I really love the N-word saga. Not only was it funny, but it actually did offer insight into slurs, contextual usages, appropriateness, fraternity. The N-word saga, while being on the surface like very inane, was actually kind of deep.
Whatever, like, it's just not, I don't think I've ever defended that ever. It's just not a good thing to do, right? Like, what? Yeah, but okay.
See, they're typing angry messages in my comments, already calling me. Maybe some of these words are trying to debate me, bro. Laying out some long-winded diatribe about how using slurs is actually totally okay, and you should focus on his actual arguments instead of how he
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Fashion 40 says, Connor, you only get a pass amongst the group. It's not interchangeable amongst groups unless the people there are comfortable with you to that extent. That's what I learned, Fashion 40. So when I got to California, there was some people who I just kind of fell in and we were friends, and using it was not a big deal because we had the same vibes as the original group. And then there were people who overheard us talking and they were like, that's crazy. I can't believe that you talk that way. And I was like, nah. And then I told those people to eat a wiener a few times. And then after like the third or fourth time that somebody was like soy about it, I was like, okay, it's not worth it.
delivers them. But I'm not interested in that criticism because
like it's just such a low IQ. It's a low IQ thing. Like, again, it goes back to the thing of like
you don't get the white plight of wanting to say it. I want to say it because I want the fraternity, right? Like I want Black Americans, white Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans. I want them all to be brothers in a similar project, right? I want them to, I want us to say that we believe that a constitutional republic in which you have freedom of expression, freedom of conscience, right to self-defense, up to and including against the government, and also we have like due process. So we have warrants processes, and we have due process before a jury of your peers, and we have limitations on cruel and unusual punishment, and we have like all these things. I think the Constitution is based, man. Like, I get that it's like flawed. I get that we haven't always lived up to it. I get that if you look as like a Black person or a Hispanic person, it doesn't seem like you were getting a fair shake from American culture the entire time. But I want to believe in the ideals of America, and I want them to be as real as possible. So I don't want to say the N-word because I want to be like degrading to other people, or because it's some like privilege that I just need because it's like the Infinity Gauntlet. I need to collect the slur Infinity Gauntlet. Although I really do want to collect the slur Infinity Gauntlet. That sounds like a good time. That's not the real reason. The real reason is because I think that as Americans, we should be brothers and sisters in the same project. And the fact that we're not makes me sad. It actually makes me sad. It makes me angry. It also makes me like really dislike people like Hassan Piker, man. It really makes me dislike people like Hassan Piker and people who believe his ilk, because I think what they say is that you're not a part of our tribe unless you sign on to this dog shit economic theory that was responsible for authoritarian massacres during the 20th century. And then while you're signing on to this dog shit economic theory that has imploded in everybody's face dozens of times, you also have to sign on to the fact that if you're religiously or ethno-religiously or racially privileged, you have to give that up in order to get like soy cucked into our fraternal infrastructure, fraternal or sorority infrastructure. And I just think that's so cucked. I think it's so weak. I think it's so lame. I think it's so cringe. I don't think it's equal. I don't think it actually treats human beings as human beings. I think it like re-racializes everything, and it's disgusting. I actually hate progressive communists and progressive socialists I think they've lost their fucking minds when it comes to a lot of topics. From the Ashes says, don't worry, Connor, I invited you to the cookout. Now I bestow upon you the coveted A pass. Use it wisely, for it can be easily revoked by another, which is why I won't use it. That's why I won't use it. I know you're joking, and I'm getting like serious and sad because I'm high on glue. But yeah, like that's why I dislike leftists. I don't think they want to build a fraternity of Americans. I think they want to disrupt and destroy.
Like the shovel tweet or whatever, right? This is a tweet that was way too fucking edgy, insanely inappropriate. Like, I shouldn't have tweeted it. But to analyze the tweet...
Oh, hold on. Somebody... No. Somebody says this. That this is not contextually thing. Somebody said this. I think I missed it. I remember DGG moral frogging about people getting called Indian a month ago. Just like I said, dude, the intent matters, right? If Vet Sunil and I are friends, and we're working together, and I'm encouraging him in his dating life, and I'm encouraging him in his like political and professional ambitions and all that kind of stuff. I think Vet Sunil's Indian. If you're Pakistani, my apologies. But I think Vet Sunil's Indian. And then he's like, "Oh man, like I had to do this thing the other day, and I had to take like a massive poop." And I'd be like, "You know all about that because you're Indian." Like, if I do that because I'm fucking with him, because I'm his brother, and I'm trying to screw with him over something that's distasteful to see if he laughs, and then he fucks with me over something that's like stereotypical of white people, that's funny. That's cool. Whereas if you're saying you're Indian because you're actually trying to hurt someone's feelings, because you're actually trying to say you're a different ethno-religious racial category than me, and that ethno-religious racial category is not only is it different, it's bad, and fuck you for being a part of a different tribe. That's obviously a different context. And I think differentiating between these contexts is actually not that difficult. And so when people are being obtuse about like context of the use of slurs mattering, I actually kind of get like annoyed and pissed, right? I get annoyed and pissed. Oh my God. All right. Sorry. I missed a few super chats. So I need to scroll up. So that was the super chat. Make racial slurs meaningless again. I am Simba. I am unironically with you. Yeah, exactly. Fellrunner says you can say Jew, but you can't say Jew, right? No, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. Randy Chang says, I wish I was over there again, wishing I was here. True. Offshore Nasty says, Connor, the problem is that that's fine with close personal friends who you know are racist. I think you mistyped, King. I think you were trying to say who you know aren't racist, but the way you wrote it is funnier. This doesn't apply in your online Discord chat room with thousands of people. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. Dana Calico Cloud says, example, your best friend who is Hispanic says something stupid. You say, quit it, Paco. Just fun, joking, secure it in the friendship. Right. But then if he comes back and he's like, okay, Chad or Thad, or if you're redneck, he's like, okay, Jeb, you know, like you can't get ass mad, right? Because he's fucking with you the way that you're fucking with him. Solidus for 5 says, lol, my favorite Connor love was back when the progressives were after you. Your response was to photo dump all of your pictures with your black homies. I know. Oh my God. There was this time where people were like, Connor hides behind his military service and all of his black friends for why he gets to be a rude, racist chud. And I was like, yeah, that's right. And then I pulled up all my military service photos and I posted them to Twitter. Doobie says, what the F is going on here? I got high off of glue. So instead of watching content about Steven being a bad guy, we're just having racial slur discourse in my chat. Sorry for getting distracted, but I actually like this content better. Well, QC John says, Connor, are you saying that if you have a recording of a teenage girl singing about a rap song and release it to the world 12 years later isn't defending black people? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yes. Christian Blair says, am I leaving? Yes, I got to leave in a second. So I'll just respond to chat. I'll just respond to chat and we'll wrap. In reference to this, okay, Steven's a flawed guy. All right. He's a flawed guy. He's mean. He's rude. He's abrasive. He definitely does stuff that I wouldn't do. But I'm trying to counsel him in private. if I have a criticism of him, I try to say it in public the same way that I would say it to his face. And then I also try to say it to his face, either on stream, in person, or via direct message. And maybe because of his abrasive nature, I'll get rubbed the wrong way and then we can't be friends anymore. Or maybe I'll just be too critical one day and he'll decide, you know what, I'm sick of Connor always throwing little jabs my way, trying to control me. I'm no longer his friend. Fuck that guy. But until then, we're going to keep the same energy. Where if I stab Steven, it'll be to his face and, in my opinion, to his benefit. If he doesn't like what I have to say, that's totally fine. It is what it is. End of wrap. So, well, actually, hold on. I should put one more bow on that. She thinks he's a bad guy. She has a bunch of evidence for it. Steven is being funny about it. There's definitely things that Steven has done that are worthy of criticism. But, you know, Steven and my dynamic is going to continue. Thank you. 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 I got to run. Bye for now.